And we are going. What is going on with everybody? It's your boy Eric, aka Young God, coming to you live in the Orange Dungeon, giving it to you real raw rugged. And I got somebody on the other line. I'm letting him introduce himself, man. Who we got?
What's up, Eric? This is John over here at Combat. How are you, man?
Hey, man. I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm excited for this, man. This is one that I've been waiting to do. I'm hyped for this because
Okay,
you definitely behind. I'm gonna say if not top five, at least top 10 YouTube channels out right now, man.
wow, wow, wow. Okay. Is that just from like your perspective in terms of impact or numbers? What you thinking about that as far as
Just
top?
just quality, man. Just quality, man. I'm not even like belittling you to like top 10 and like the interviewing genre, or top 10 and like genres of just like niggas or something. You know what I'm saying? I mean just like top 10 including goddamn the white people that got YouTube, man, everybody, you know what I'm saying? So
Got
I,
you.
I got y'all at least if like I said, I want to say top 5, but just to be safe, at least top 10 out of all YouTube channels right now
Appreciate
in
that.
2020 of
That's
February, man.
humbling. That's for sure humbling.
Hey man, I've been following you guys and I'm just blown away by some of the content. So before we get too far into this, I would love for you to explain exactly who you are and what you do before we get too knee deep into this interview.
hmm so let's just say in terms of comedy hype, correct?
Yes.
So in terms of comedy hype, I think most people will probably know me as far as doing the interviews on one-on-ones that we conduct on our platform. Outside of that, I'm also like the creative director of the platform and slash like producer. So I'm pretty much the lead in terms of like operations.
So how exactly did comedy hype start?
Okay, so our story starts around 2009. So we've been here for a minute in terms of the process of getting up to where comedy hype is at the moment. Initially, I started a platform called the Laughing Barrel, and that was like a blog, video blog, kind of like doing a little bit what we do now in terms of like highlighting, spotlighting urban comedians. And then from there, it migrated into comedy hype. Like years later, we decided to do like a revamp on the brand.
Mm.
And then with that revamp, we went on and became, CH today.
Hey man, that's a great rebrand, man. You did your thing with that, man. You did your
we
thing
had,
with that.
had to, we had to um, because at one point the the it was going by the Laughing Barrel, and I don't know if entrepreneurs or people that's like I'm sure everyone nowadays is kind of working on something, but it was a decision as a creative to where the brand that we had, the name that we had, it just wasn't sticking, man.
Mm.
It wasn't communicating strong enough about what we represented. So like the Laughing Bell, I'll tell you a backstory. What made me kind of change it? I had some meetings and I was told to change it, but I was again a creative at the time. And when you have your vision, you get kind of stuck on like, no, it's gonna be this way.
Yeah.
It's this way or not. And you're really, creatives can be kind of artistic and kind of in the emotions a little bit. And that was me early on. And so in that process, I went to this event. And I went to this event, and now I'm like the only black person there. It's a tech event, so you have your, white folks, Asian cats, and then I think this one Asian dude stepped up to me. He saw our company name, the Laughing Barrel, and he just came up to me and said, "Oh, what do y'all sell guns?" Now I automatically was offended by it because I'm like, "Damn, like, is it because we black? You think we
Yeah.
just on some gun stuff?" And then at the same time, it let me know, well, I don't need to keep challenging that anymore because I had heard like people kind of struggling with finding our URL, basic stuff like that, to where I had to be like, you know what, let's communicate exactly what we represent, and that's kind of where the comic idea came from.
That's crazy because I would have thought Laughing Barrel would have. I don't know. It sounds like a good name. Like I would have never thought that would have caused so many
It was
problems.
it was the Laughing Barrel. It was DA,
The
and
Laughing
then
Barrel.
Laughing Barrel. I try to put some hipness on it. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like with the DA, and nah. But
Yeah.
it just let me know I needed something a little bit more to the point.
Well, as somebody who like creates content, I definitely understand. It's very frustrating sometimes when
Mm.
you think something is really gold and other people are like, ah, that's not really hitting it. You know what I'm saying? Or some people are like, oh, you should probably do this, probably do that. But you're like, no, like you're not seeing the vision. They're like, I don't think so. So it's hard to kind of
It's
distinguish.
that.
It's hard to
It's
distinguish when
definitely
like,
but you gotta be.
huh?
Mm-hmm. And so you gotta be real with yourself, though.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, at a certain point, it's kind of like, while we have like these rappers that's been rapping in the game or guys that's trying to get on at 40 plus,
Mm.
trying to still figure it out. And that's me being real. At a certain point, you got to have that conversation with yourself and like, yo, is this for me? Is what the brand I'm doing, is it sticking? And I think that's the one of those conversations that people don't like to have because it's not about giving up your dreams. It's just more about having a reality check and putting your ego to the side a little bit. Like it's a real moment that you have to have with yourself.
That's a fact. I feel like it's hard to distinguish though sometimes, where it's some things
Mm-hmm.
outside of even comedy, just like art in general, that's not really perceived well off of first listen, but either months or years later,
For sure.
people are like, "Oh, I get it now," and it finally clicks for everybody. So it's kind of hard sometimes, where it's like,
Yeah.
is this something that they just won't get right now because of the time we living in? It's just not gonna work. But wait till 2 years from now, it's gonna work. Or you really, like you said, you gotta look at yourself and be like, this is kind of trash. I need to rebrand myself. You know what I'm saying?
It's kind of, I guess, because for me, I'm in the business sector, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with business, it's like, how do I say, like for you to survive in business, I think there's like a 2 year window they say a lot of times where you'll know when a business is doing well
Yeah.
or it's going to succeed or not. And you kind of have to see some type of traction early on.
Mm.
So again, I was like year maybe 4 or 5 with the Laughing Barrel. Some years I went by, we were doing okay, but it wasn't sticking. So I had to make a business decision in terms of how do I make sure our company survives because it wasn't communicating what I was trying to communicate to important individuals at the time.
Look, man, I feel like you guys are definitely communicating what you're trying to do right now because I guess to kind of take it back to how I even discovered you guys, I feel like Comedy Hype was a channel that how can I put it? It's like a channel that I will always see. Like I recommended and I watched it a couple times, like, oh, this is cool. But I actually never subscribed. And it's not like a reason why I didn't subscribe. It was just one of those things I just
Okay,
never
okay,
subscribed.
okay.
But I will always see it. But
Uh-huh.
when it really stuck to me is when you guys interviewed Richard Pryor's bodyguard. And
Got you.
I think that was interesting to me, not because of what he was saying. It was who he was, because that threw me off. I was like, Richard Pryor. I was like, how did he even find him? Like, this is really random. So I thought I liked stuff
Right.
like that. Like I like when you find obscure
Yes.
people and get them to tell their stories. Like that's really cool to me. And I want to
You
say,
got another one coming up.
really.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I want to say right after that,
Yeah.
you interviewed somebody else that was a little obscure. And I'm just like, bro, this nigga just finding like random people. Like, this nigga just finding goddamn Eddie Murphy a maid. I'm like, nigga, how's he finding these people, bro? And that's just so crazy to me. And I
Yeah.
really was
Yeah.
intrigued by that a lot.
And I think from a journalistic standpoint, that's the fun part. And, media a lot of times put a spotlight on everyone, the same actors over and over. It's over and over. But who can tell the story and at the same, I guess, the same amount of authenticity, like the person standing next to them or the guy that was the chef for like Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's got stories. I'm sure he was there when certain things went down. And that's fun. And I think in terms you find more truth there too because these people are like non-biased at times. At times, they could be non-biased and kind of give you, what really went down. And I think that's where people appreciate our channel because we're just in search for the truth on that channel.
So when you're finding these people, are you like going out to like search for them, or does it just come to you? Like these obscure people
It's
specifically.
both.
Mm.
Yeah, it's both. It's both. Like in terms of it's both. It's both. It could be recommendations. People that are in touch with me could be like, hey, you want to look at this person. It could be me just kind of like thinking about someone. It's both. Like the prior bodyguard, since you brought that up, that was more of a recommendation. Someone said this might be a good person to interview, and I finally had listened and I checked it out, and from there definitely kind of opened up a new world for us. in terms of where we can go with these stories and conversations. So it's both. It's definitely both.
That's so cool, man. Like I said, I definitely know the feeling of like trying to interview somebody and you have to find them, and I feel like that's fun for me at least. Like I've had to like I found somebody that was like disabled, and he was like a Houston rap star, but he was like a disabled Houston rap star. And I'm like, I got to interview this dude, and I
Wow.
had to go find his contact information. It was nowhere to be found, and I got connected with like somebody that went to
Right.
high school with them, and I found a dude YouTube channel, and I
Right.
was like, hey, can you connect me with this dude? And I end up getting connected with him, and that's just fun for me, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like
No,
that
you're
stuff is
on it.
really fun.
You're on it, dude.
Yeah.
You're on it because I don't put myself out there.
Mm.
You know, I'm not like on a publicity run, or that's never been my thing. I've always been about the work. So for you to find me, and I think you even addressed it as John Williams, or did you do that? Did
I
you say
did.
Jay Will,
I
or
did. I
how
did.
did you?
I did. That John
So you
Williams.
had to have
Yeah.
some type of snooping and research, not snooping, but
Nah,
research.
nah, I
I don't
snooping.
want
I
to
was
say that.
snooping. I was snooping. I was snooping, man.
I don't want to say that, like, but you had to do some type of research to, like, like figure out who's who, because initially that's never been my brand as far as like publicity wise, you know. But I'm doing it more a little bit now because we're at a place where we do have some stuff that we're gonna gear up to hopefully take our platform and our company to another level.
Bro, I could definitely attest for you. You definitely are a person that's like all about the work, and it's like if I get famous for it, that's cool, but that's not like my MO. I want this to, no, I want my work to speak for itself because it took me
Yeah.
forever to find a contact to like do this interview. Like I was like, who do I address this to? What do I do? It didn't take me a day. It took me some days to find this. Like I was like on page 6 on Google searches. You know what I'm saying? Like I was really trying to find it, and I found something. I really don't remember how I found it, but hey, man, I'm
Cause
glad we're
I
here.
just think we're in the. I think we've kind of got lost up. The social media stuff. It's I'm sure you hear that often. It's impacted a lot,
Mm.
and it kind of has taken away from the work. It's taken away from, like, remember back in the day where you would work out, you go to the gym, and you just like, yo, I'm about to get right. I'm finna get my abs together. I'm gonna run on the treadmill if you do that, or get your push-ups in. But now it don't count unless you post it
Mm.
on social media. And that kind of makes you miss the overall focus of getting your body right. Now you damn became a photographer. People have become professional photographers now because they worried about posting stuff as opposed to just being great at what they do. And I think we're kind of, it feels good to be recognized, but man, that work, man, will always speak for itself. And you're exactly right. That's kind of how I operate.
I think about that all the time. Like that kind of reminds me of like when Kobe died or whatever. And I see a lot of people. I feel like we grieve differently now in 2020 because I think it was Kevin Durant, if I'm not mistaken. He posted like a rest in peace thing like a days later, and the way he wrote it, I felt like he was almost pressured into writing it. Like I feel like people were commenting like, "Hey, where's your RP post for Kobe? Where's your RP post for Kobe?" And I feel like if you don't post a RP post for somebody, it's like, do you even care about this person? You know what I'm saying? It's weird, man. It's weird.
Right.
It's weird.
Dang. No, you're right. I mean, that's where people kind of would start judging you now. That's what that's the thing about social media too, is that when you do expire, that's immediately the first thing they do is see all your work, and then you kind of get your flowers in that time. Yeah.
Hey man, and I feel like you are in charge of giving a lot of comedians their flowers right now. Like a lot of people that may have been
Mm.
forgotten in the comic view era or in the whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like you bring a lot of people back where I'm like, dang, I forgot that person was a person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta go check this person out again. So I feel like you low key like helping these people careers out because people like myself probably forgot about these people. And now we're like, oh, let's go watch their stuff. Let's go follow them. Let's go support. You know what I'm saying? So hey, you really helping people out. I don't know if that's on purpose or if you thought about that, but that's the thing you're doing right now for sure.
No, that's the intention. If you do any company, I think we all, not only you trying to make money and stuff like that, but I think we all want to create some type of impact. There's that humanity there behind what you do. You're doing the interviews, your platform. There's some type of bigger goal in hand that you maybe have a vision for. So it's like, with that, definitely is a big thing for us. Is like, yeah, it's dope to be able to say, we help kind of bring somebody some fair attention back to them. We made sure that their career was properly documented, And that's really what I get inspired out of in the interviews. It's like, yeah, like the Monique one was a proud moment. If people haven't seen that, that was a good moment for the platform because no matter how you might have felt about Monique, you got to hear her out in our interview. And I think that's for me as from a journalistic standpoint, that was cool because everybody had a way they was trying to get at Monique and like, they were trying to like if you interview Monique, it was like the angle. So Monique, why did you post on Netflix? And they were challenging her as opposed to let me hear her out because clearly this is important to her. Let her articulate that, and I think that was refreshing to be able to see that in an interview. So yeah.
Hey, I think that's the thing people should like learn in life, not even just in interviews, where it's like you should really let people articulate their point. Like if this is so important to you, maybe I should just hear you out. At the end of it, I still may think you're like an idiot or a dummy,
There you
but
go.
now I at least have a full comprehension of your point. So yeah,
For sure.
I
I
think
definitely think.
I think that's
I
cool you did
definitely
that.
think so too. I definitely think so too. Because a lot of us, a lot of us do that whole thing where we're not really listening, and we got our egos get ourselves caught up a lot of times, and I think just being cool, being someone cool to talk to is important. Taking judgment out of it, I think helps a lot. Taking judgment out of it, yeah.
No, that's a very big fact. I mean, just watching all these interviews, it made me think like, what developed even this love or this interest that you have in comedy.
For sure. As far as the as far as the channel, I mean, initially I'm a comedy fan. You know, um, there's also the aspect of me being an entrepreneur, right? So with that, it's kind of like our platform was kind of seemed like it's needed. Would you even say, man, you're helping bring people back? But I got a question as I think about it: should they have even been forgotten? You know, like what was not there that made these people get forgotten? Because these are talented people. So in that, it kind of comes up to the place where you see CH today because we kind of see the void that certain artists, particularly urban black comedians, were not getting the proper attention. We're not getting the proper support. You know, and from that, with me being a comedy fan and me trying to figure out how to create a business, it just made sense for comedy hype or at that time the Last and Barrel to be born.
I think one thing that I really like about your interviews is because myself, everything, not everything, but a lot of things that I do is based in comedy. Like I try to involve comedic aspects to every type of content that I put out for the most part. Trying to make people laugh. And I think it's interesting what you do when you interview comedians. I realize with a lot of comedian interviews, a lot of people. They do two things. They either try to joke with them a lot, or they try to treat them as like caricatures, almost as
You catch that, right? Right.
yeah, they try to treat them as like caricatures and like, oh, you gonna make me laugh today? Or, hey, send me a knock like joke or something crazy. You know what I'm saying? But when you talk to these people, you're just having a regular conversation, and you're not trying to be funny. You're not trying to, if it's funny, it's funny, but you're not trying. You know what I'm saying? You're just having a regular conversation with them, and I think that's cool.
We get a lot of, we get different criticism. One is kind of like, it's comedy hype, where's the comedy? And that is kind of the irony at times, but what we're trying to do is create a certain level of humanity, at least in the one-on-ones. There's going to be comedy that we'll be doing down the line, so everyone can get their laugh from us as well. But there's a lot of that already in terms of like funny, goofy stuff online. But there's a level of humanity that we're trying to give these comedians. So you'll see certain interviews that we've done. Like I got a big, I don't know if you got this as a question, but I got like some backlash with the earthquake interview I did. That was Earthquake's ex-wife, interview that we did. That was more of a level of trying to show you that this entertainer who comes out and makes you laugh, he has some real shit going on in his life. And so there's a level of humanity that we're trying to capture, and sometimes, it could be misread, which I think that one was. Other times, people might catch on to what we're doing, and I think in your soul when you watch it, you kind of feel you kind of subconsciously maybe make that connection where you kind of noticing that we're not here to be goofy, that there's something that haven't caught about a comedian. So I think that's interesting you say that because that's exactly the tone of the interview that I at least conduct for us.
No, I mean that's something I noticed right away because I've interviewed a lot of porn stars. Like at this point, like I've interviewed a
Okay.
lot of them, and when I interview them, one of
Oh,
my
boy,
main
is my thumbnail about to be next to a porn star joint?
oh yeah,
I'm gonna hit
definitely gonna have the CH logo on pinky butt. Definitely gonna be next to pinky butt.
okay.
But yeah, so I interview a lot
All
of them,
right.
and one of my main things that I do, 'cause I've seen a lot of porn star interviews, and it's done by a lot of creepy niggas. It's like, yo, this nigga might need to be checked out. This nigga's wilding. So when I interview them, I try to interview them like girls. Like I try to interview them like I just got this girl number and I
Yeah.
just want to get to know her. Not hey, she's some sexual object. I
Yeah.
want to show the human side of her.
Yeah.
And a lot of people realize that in the comments. They're like, wow. I didn't know she was this smart. Wow, I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? So what you do with the
Right.
comedian interviews, I think you're doing the same as that thing because it's like, wow, I didn't know insert comedian could be this intellectual without being fun. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like you're doing a great job at that, man. Great job.
Yeah. It's just allowing them. Sometimes I get where I enjoy the combos a lot. Like I enjoy every combo,
Mm.
but it's like I get caught up in it. I get excited. So you might watch some interviews. I might get really excited because I'm like excited to kind of be talking to that person. But at the same time, when I'm really kind of in that zone, kind of what you might speak on at times is that I'm there to kind of allow them to get that message they're trying to get out. And I'm kind of like and I'm telling you because you do interviews too. My approach is more like I'm on their team. I'm trying to alley oop them shit
Mm.
throughout the convo. Just here's the alley oop, slam dunk this. That's what I really was in that place with the Monique interview, and she was just knocking them out the park. You know.
Hey, man, nothing worse than interviewing somebody and you're trying to do that and they're just missing it every time. You're like, all right, man, I can't help you anymore. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've ever been in that
The
situation, but
thing with
man,
comedians, the art of comedy is a very truthful platform.
yeah,
So the comedians are definitely great people to interview and speak with. Um, I think that is where they appreciate us is that we're not having them dance and hey do a jig, tell me a joke because that's enough of that.
yeah,
We really about trying to connect with them and again humanize the comedians because what has happened in our experience, our relationship with comedians has been very one sided, which is they come on stage, they crack their jokes for X amount of time, and then they go behind the curtain. And that was cool, but we don't talk about his life before he got on that stage or her life before she got on that stage, and we don't talk about their life after that
mm.
stage. And that's where we fill in those holes for you. So you want to know who you're really representing and what they're about, and maybe have a certain level of understanding with them.
I don't know if you felt this, but I felt this the first time I interviewed a comedian, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is finna be the funniest interview of all time. We finna be dying laughing." And I can't remember who was the first interview. I mean, first comedian interview I done, but every comedian that I've interviewed has never been remotely funny at all. But they've all been really good interviews. It just had never like I interviewed Spoken Reasons. That was not a funny interview. We talked about like Black Power stuff the whole time. Super duper good. Carlos Miller, super
Okay.
duper good. You know what I'm saying? Never took a funny route. So when you first interviewed a comedian, were you in the mind like, oh, this finna be like ridiculously funny?
Trying to think. Okay, so who was my first? Well, I've been again. This is 11-year journey for me,
Mm,
right? So I learned pretty early on, probably like let's just say year one or year two, that that's not what I am. And I also think a little bit of who I am reflects in what we do in those interviews.
mm.
I got my ways. I can be silly. I can be funny, and goofy. But at the same time, there's a serious tone to me that I've kind of held. I think the business side kind of comes out to where I want to be serious. And so to answer your question, like it kind of was early on. Um, I kind of knew like, okay, the comedians got a story to tell, and these are real people. You know, did you ask me? Did you ask me that, or was there a particular comedian you asked me on?
Well, no, no, no. I was just saying, like, you basically answered it. Like, when you were going in first interviewing comedians, did you
Gotcha.
did you have that mindset, like, oh, this is going to be like, ha ha, he funny? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, and I think you do that serious style very good because I just watched the interview. I was just watching a couple interviews before we did the interview, and I've been meaning to
Yeah,
watch this one. I've been meaning to watch this one, but I finally got around to it. And it was the Shawty one where he was talking about fighting Lil Duval and beef with Lil
yeah,
Duval or whatnot. And
yeah.
that was a hard one to watch just off the simple fact that I am
Okay.
a Duval man myself. You know what I'm saying? I am from Jacksonville,
Oh wow.
so
Okay. Okay.
yeah, hearing a North Side nigga getting knocked out by like a 5-1 nigga, that was hard to swallow, man. I was like, goodness gracious, we are
Yeah.
taking L's in Atlanta, man. But I think that was a
Oh, got
really
you. Got you. Okay. Okay.
yeah, I was like, we
Mhm.
taking L's out there, but I'm looking at Shawty, and he felt very. I feel like you made him feel very comfortable to tell that story. I feel like he didn't feel pressured or in an uncomfortable
Yeah.
situation. He took pauses throughout it, like trying to regain himself, I guess, and just remembering
Yeah.
everything. And I feel like when you do stuff like that, you're really in a place where you're like, okay, I'm okay to tell the story, and I feel like you really made him feel like he was like in a comfortable
Yeah.
place for sure.
I think that's what definitely could be the word amongst the comedians, that they do know that if you come there and be truthful and just tell your truth, that can be generally rewarding. Like even in interviews, I don't, like I said, I don't do a lot of interviews, but I know that when I do it, I have to be fucking authentic
Mm,
as best as I can. I'm a little bit at the same time. I gotta play corporate at times, but I just feel like the audience appreciates it so much more. And I think our times have changed a little bit too. You know, where at one point being an entrepreneur was like, oh, you're an entrepreneur, but man, who isn't trying to start their own business, dude?
yeah.
Who isn't doing like a side hustle or something like that? So that level of I gotta wear a suit to be like a businessman, that has changed. You
Mm,
know, like tattoos now. Bar owners of places have tattoos. I got some tattoos. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, and that at one point was taboo. Now it's just kind of like it's very casual. So I think times have just drastically changed in terms of that direction. So yeah.
It's funny you bring up tattoos because something my friend Amp we like watch your channel all the time, and he has a lot of
Mhm.
tattoos, and he's always like, dang, like should I get another tattoo or should I get another like tattoo on my arm or whatever? So it's interesting that you bring that up. Like that's kind of being dismantled at this point where it's not taboo anymore.
It's not taboo anymore, man. It's not like and that's kind of where like I think the model of your new entrepreneurs and your deal makers are gonna keep looking different.
Mm,
And there's some intelligent people, man. They don't gotta look intelligent to be intelligent.
yeah,
That was the gag, man. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some cool ass people. You know, this is Kanye to there's some people that know about shoes and they know how to also, put some numbers together.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah.
like stuff has changed. People can be swagged up and at the same time handle boardroom meetings.
Mm,
So I think that's where it's like again, I'm seeing myself lean more into just being authentic when it comes to not trying to be over PC, and I think people embrace it more. And it doesn't hurt as much. Like if you say something that you want to say, like who isn't saying some sideways stuff?
yeah, that's a fact.
Um, yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's a fact. And I mean, you were talking about like talking to these people and getting them to open up and be on their side and whatnot. And I'm kind of going to pull the curtain back on certain things I do in my interviews. What I'm about to say right now. I'm curious, do you ever do this? Like when I'm interviewing certain people and I want them to feel comfortable, I may say certain things or I may use certain words that I wouldn't use in another interview. Like let's say if I'm interviewing a person that's gets interviewed by a lot of white people. You really don't talk to a lot of black people like that.
Okay.
So I may
Okay.
reference a lot of black things, or I may say nigga, or I may just say things that feel like home to them. You know what I'm saying? Like I've interviewed a lot of
Mm,
UFC fighters, and they're like, "Damn, like bro, no, never get interviewed by black people." So I'm referencing a lot of black things, like make it feel like they at home now. Make it feel like they in a interview with like a corporate business person or whatnot. So do you ever use that strategic technique, or you not kind of overthink things like that?
nah, I wouldn't. And I get your approach, but I don't tend to overthink it like that because you don't never know how people feel
Yeah.
and what might trigger them.
Mm,
You know what the best thing if I'm was to try to talk about a jewel in interviewing is just listening, dude.
mm,
and then you just listen to them, and they'll let you know what they're about, and you just kind of lean into that. So it's like a girl or a woman. You know what happens? I call it talking yourself out the draws. A lot of us do that or have done that in the past, where she was showing you cooperation, and you done, instead of just listening to her and just responding off her directions or what she's trying to tell you about herself, you done overtalked her, and now she's not even interested no more. You know, instead of just being cool and just listening. So a lot of times I just listen and hear what they're saying, and then you can go into it that way.
Yeah,
You know.
that's one thing you do great. You listen, man. You listen, and I feel like just watching the interviews, you really be letting them get their stuff off, man. Like you don't be stopping them with nothing. You let them get their stuff off, and
Yeah.
that's fire, man. That's fire, bro.
That Shawty one was very that was a test, but it was good content because that was a 28-minute video. You know,
Yeah.
that one that you're talking about, Duval. But in watching it before we released it, it kept my attention. It kept the team's attention looking at it. And it's like, man, this is good content. He's opening up. He's detailing stuff. He's keeping our attention. So that was a really moment for us even to learn about, man, if we do compelling content, the audience will stay there and watch it. They'll stay there and view it. If it's good content, they'll stay there. So, yeah, I definitely try to listen and let people kind of have their moment.
Hey man, I feel like you do a good job, and you've been interviewing so many people that's like just super big or super popular. Just like wow, how did you get that person? And is there people that you've interviewed? I'm pretty sure it is. So like, who are the people you would say you've interviewed so far where you're like, wow, like this is happening, like it's crazy to you, like oh, this is really gonna happen.
Man, I'm kind of. I got a. It's only maybe one that was like a ooh moment, like a slight ooh, because I'm pretty cool, man. I kind of like I'm cool. Like I'm one of them guys that you can kind of put me anywhere, and I don't get starstruck. I'm not tripped out about celebrity like that. But on the real, it was the Monique interview. Because she's kind of created a noise across the space so long, and this is when we moved into our first little studio space. That she came in there. I always reflect the air was really light. The air was really light. It felt light that day. It was quiet. She came in there with her husband, and they sat down, and we just like vibed, and we created what people kind of see today. So that was one that was like, oh wow. When I seen her, came to the door, I was like, oh wow, this is Monique. So I said that real quickly in my head. Then I got back focused.
Yeah, man, that's a thing that I always think about. I'm like, man, I've talked to so many people, I'm not gonna get starstruck, but yeah, that's an interesting thing. Like, it's when you meet the right person, you never know. You're like, oh man, you kind of get stumbled up a little bit. But like you said,
What
you've
is
been
your
doing it.
and just my
Yeah.
curiosity, because this is what I do. What is your kind of goal that you're striving for? Are you trying to build a catalog with these interviews so that people know how to support you in that direction, or are you more so of like what's your drive to do these interviews?
Oh man, I mean, my story happened just very randomly, not strategically like yours at all. I was just happened to be at a concert, and artist at the concert liked one of my shirts, and he said, "Let me buy it off of you." I said, "Nah, but my friend, he makes the shirts." So I got my friend, and he was like, "I don't have any of that in my house." So the artist was like, "Oh, I'll hop in the car with y'all and ride to the house." So he hopped in the car with us, and he just asked us what we do. And I think I just made something up, like, "Yeah, I interview people or something." He was like, "Oh, for real? Let interview me." So I'm like, "All right, cool." So I interviewed him the next day. People liked it, and then after that, I've just been interviewing people ever since. And I guess the end goal would just, I don't know, man. Like it didn't really start from I want to be an interviewer or whatnot because I do way more things than interview people. So I don't know. I mean, it's just I have over 200 interviews. It's just one of them things where it's like hopefully somebody will notice it and I can take it further. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of them type of things.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's crazy you said that. I'm thinking, dang, without a doubt, us building our network, that would be awesome down the line. You say, and I hate to do this interview. Where you based out of though? Can you mention that?
Oh nah, man. I mean, hey man, this is a conversation. I always let people know this, man. When I do interviews, nigga, feel free to ask me anything you want to. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
No type of restraints at all. But no, I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. Like I was saying, that's Duval. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm from
Got you.
Duval. Yeah, so yeah,
Got you.
yeah, I'm from
Okay.
Duval.
So yeah, man, CH is. developing some things. So we're trying to expand the brand in different places. That would be awesome. And yeah, that'd be awesome just to kind of like see how we can collaborate in that fashion.
Oh
So
no, I mean, hey, like I said,
yeah.
I definitely would love to do that because I love comedy. Everything I do is based in comedy. Like I love doing stuff like little public interviews, going in the street and doing like man on the street stuff. So yeah, I mean, comedy is great. That's why I love your guys' channels because you kind of give insight behind some of the comedians that I
Mm-hmm.
love and I forgot about. So yeah, man, definitely would love to work with you for sure, man.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I definitely don't want to hold you for too long. But before we get out of here, I had a couple fan questions,
Yes.
and I was gonna rattle them off to you real quick. Let me see what we
Dope. You
got.
said these are fan questions.
Fan questions, yes, sir. All
So
right,
these are people. Go ahead. Okay.
it's people rocking with you, man. People want to know some stuff, man.
Really?
Yeah, man. You sound surprised.
You know why, man? Because we didn't really dive into this story, but it's just humbling. Like, this company was started out of my grandmother's house. Like, it got its legs out of my grandmother's house.
Mm,
So when you kind of experience that and you're just by yourself in a room, you grinding every day and you just like, there's no traction, right? You're not making any money. Your family might be looking at you crazy, like, why are you doing that? And, that was my experience at times. They thought I was playing on my computer, go get a regular job over and over, over and over. That's every day for years. And you just kind of are running in the dark, is what I kind of say.
mm.
And then when you look up and you finally realize, damn, I was running in the right direction, it's very humbling when you hear people appreciating what you did out of your grandmother's house. So yes, that's why you got that reaction.
Man, like I
Like,
said,
wow,
uh,
like,
man, like I was saying, man, it's like
yeah.
even if it take years or months, bro, like if it's quality, it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna rise. Like people are going to notice quality, man. Even if it's not right away or if it's not overnight, people are going to be like, "This is quality," and people are going to rock with it. So that's why I
Mm-hmm.
think that the channel has how many subscribers is that right now?
I think it's like 270. Yeah, 270.
That's why it's
Two
almost
seventy.
at three
That's
hundred
that's
thousand,
cool.
man. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, it's about to be at 3, and we trying to, you know, our thing is just bigger than ourselves at this point.
mm,
I think it's just necessary for, you talk about the quality. It's just like we still know what we represent in terms of being black in media,
yeah,
and just doing, and then a certain authenticity that I think the audience is just like ready for. If you look at the conversations we have, it's non-biased in terms of how we just put it out there. A lot of times, like you might see certain people, maybe stories that doesn't put them in a favorable light that people have been trained to love. But I think the audience just appreciates truth and they respect it. They might be mad, but you gotta respect the truth. So that's kind of how we've been approaching this journalistic side of comedy hype.
hey man, like I said, I love it. People love it, and that's why people got questions, man. Let me see where to start off. He say, first question from Amphifelli. He says, got a couple questions actually. He says, you want to know your thoughts on Cookie Hole versus Tamara versus Lonnie Love drama.
This is coming from, okay. So the Cookie Hall thing, thoughts on that? I honestly don't watch the reel, so it was more so of I've seen that it was a big deal,
Mm,
and I think it's one of those things where you again allow someone like Cookie to tell a story, someone that you maybe never heard of. I thought it was dope because with Cookie, she was a writer for Cat Williams. We talk about black women empowerment. Like, that's pretty damn dope.
yeah,
That's what I kind of got out of that. That I think sometimes people got caught up in the drama aspect. It's like, yo, this is a sister who wrote for one of the biggest names in comedy.
mm,
We talk about this, black woman this, black woman empowerment. Well, here's a story right here in front of you. But sometimes I can get overlooked, through the stories. But that whole thing, I don't know how to really respond to that. I don't get caught up too much in those types of things. We just do the story and kind of let people have the platform.
all right. Next one is IG comedy ruining the comedy game.
Is IG comedy ruining the comedy game?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's ruining. I think that That's not. I don't think the word is ruining. Um, I don't think the word is ruining. It has created more access for people who maybe don't respect the craft as much
Yeah.
to have the opportunity to call themselves comedians. That's a
Mm.
big conversation. I don't want to say it's ruining because at the same time, it's also making the audience aware of comedy. And to be honest with you, I want to say that social media comedy has definitely made comedians a little bit more acceptable.
Mm.
Okay. And what I mean by that is at one point, to be a comedian, it was kind of goofy and like, are you a comedian? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, they think you some type of clown. Now it's understood a little bit more because it's so transparent and it's so a part of our culture with social media that it's like, oh, he a comedian. It's got a little bit more respect on it.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit more like understanding on it where a guy can make money off being a comedian via social media. So that's the other side of it. I don't know if it's ruining it, but it's definitely one of those things where if the right people aren't respecting the craft, it can definitely taint it. You know, as far as stand up.
All right. Last one. He says top five comic view comedians, and then he has parentheses. He thinks Tyler Craig is the goat.
Type top five YouTube.
No, no, no. Comic view comedians.
Wow, dang. Y'all know I'm only like 31.
That's the exact age of this person that asked this question. That's funny you say that too.
For real,
Yeah.
man.
And I'm much more younger than you.
Yeah, Tyler.
I just turned 21, so hey man. Yeah,
Okay,
so, yeah.
that's cool. But nah, Tyler Craig, man. Tyler Craig is definitely there. That's why I actually liked that interview because I was to see him on Comic View. Arnaz J.
Mm.
He was on Comic View. He was a lot of his body. That'll be a really good interview. Now I think about it.
Yeah.
Arnaz J. Um, Comic View. Hey, for some reason I want to say Ricky Smiley. I don't know why. I feel like he gave me some good funny moments because he was the host, I believe, at one point on Comic View. And I think I remember him like cracking me up as a kid. Man, Comic View, dang, to get back with that one, dude. There's so many people that's like I'm trying to think of people that were really on there consistently. So let me say this: the reason why I can't tap into it because I was a kid. I didn't know who these people were.
Yeah.
I just knew people were cracking up, making jokes. So verbatim names, I couldn't recall it. Who was really, hitting me in my core as a youngster. And I used to watch it with my grandmother. That's the cool thing about that. When I would visit her, and I used to watch it coming with my grandmother. Yeah, but yeah, that's all I got. That will be authentic. I'll be naming names at this point.
Well, hey, man. Like I said, I don't want to keep it for too long. So if you got anything else you got to say before you get out of here, let me know, man.
Man, I just appreciate this. I don't do many interviews. This was a great conversation. If you are listening to this, definitely continue to check out Comedy Hype if you haven't. Feel free to see what we got going on over there. And just continue. If you got your own vision for something, man, start today is what I've been kind of professing. Just start today. There's no reason to hold back. It's kind of the time to do it. Whatever that dream is or that goal is, you should start today. And that's it, man. We got some cool things cooking up. Much more beyond the platform in terms of comedy, hype, and YouTube. There's a lot more things that we are looking to do as far as impacting comedy. So, yes, just lock in with us on social media.
All right, man. Well, as you say that, let me follow y'all. Y'all get Instagram. I'm gonna follow y'all right now. As you say that, man. You got Instagram. Let me
This
see.
man about to follow us now. You are hilarious.
Yeah, let me follow them boys right now and lock in, man. So yeah, man. Just tapped in with the follow button right there, man. I hope you guys do the same. It will all be in the description. I have all your YouTube and everything in the link. So if everybody tuning in right now, I appreciate it. And until next time, I say what I mean what I say. Haters gonna hate, players gonna play, and y'all holla at your boy, man.